How does the closing process work on a house? When do I sign my loan documents? When do I get my keys? When do I get to move in? When do I make my first house payment? It is important to make a point of pointing out that closing on a home is different in each state. In the Las Vegas area, you will not be closing at the escrow table. You will have to go through the entire closing process before you get your keys and move in. The final few days in buying a home can be a little chaotic because there are so many steps involved, such as signing the closing disclosure, wiring the closing funds, performing the final walkthrough, signing the loan documents, and the recording of the deed. The most important step in the closing process is signing the closing disclosure. The closing disclosure is a full accounting of all of the monies needed to close on your new home. When you sign the lender's closing disclosure, it will trigger the closing process to start. So typically anywhere between the day of or a few days before your closing date, you are going to sign your closing documents. You will be signing all the mortgage documents, the deed of trust, and the documents to transfer the title from the seller to you, the buyer. It is important to note that you will not be getting your keys at the signing. There are several steps that need to happen prior to getting the keys. Either before or right after you sign the loan documents, you're going to wire the funds to the title company for the remainder of your down payment and all of your funds that are due to close the transaction. We will also be performing a final walkthrough. You're going to walk through the house and make sure it still looks the exact same that it looked like at the time you wrote the offer. Plus, we're going to check on any repairs or modifications that the seller had agreed to make. We want to make sure they were completed and they look good. It is a good idea to bring a checklist or an inspection report with you to make sure you don't miss anything that you asked for. And it is a good idea to verify if it is needed to hire a professional to come and make sure those repairs are done correctly at that walkthrough. It is always a good idea also to get any invoices or documentation from the seller to prove that those repairs were done by a licensed contractor. Now, after you have signed the loan documents, performed the walkthrough, and the title company has received your funds and your lender's funds, they will release the file to record. Once we have confirmation of the recording from the title company where they have transferred the property from the seller to you, the buyer, we will give you the keys. Usually this will happen late in the evening on the closing day. It is important to note that this is not always the same day that you sign your loan documents. So just be aware that you will not be able to move into your new home until we have confirmation of the recording from the title company. We will be with you to help walk through each step and keep you informed as to what time frame we think that you will have your keys. Unfortunately, these last few steps can take longer than expected, so it is always a good idea to have a plan in place with your agent just in case it goes over that close of escrow day. Now, when do you make your first payment? Well, the good news is that you're actually going to have a grace period to make your first payment. So if you close on your house on January 15th, you're going to skip January's payment. You're going to skip February's payment, and your first monthly payment is going to be due March 1st. So the golden rule is whatever month that you close in with a mortgage, you're going to skip that one. You're going to skip the following one. And then after that is when your first payment is going to be due. I bring this up because it is very helpful when you guys are planning to make your transition, to get out of a lease, or making any monthly payments to budget for. That's how the closing process works, and we look forward to working with you to have a smooth closing on your new home.